Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Dr. Joey interviews Christian business professionals just like you to discover their secrets for working faith positive in a negative world. Welcome to Faith Positive Radio with Dr. Joey Fawcett.
Hey, Faith Positive Nation, we talk a lot about divine design. That is how God created you. The scriptures tell us from the moment of your conception, right? I knew you in your mother's womb. And so God took special care in knitting each one of us together. Over 7 billion of us here, no two of us exactly alike. So what is there about you that God can be glorified through, and who you are and how you do it, and your amazing personality, and those crafty skills? You like the way I did that? Crafty skills that you might have. Today's guest is absolutely awesome. She enjoys helping female entrepreneurs, and Honey is the pet name I give to my wife. Honey, this podcast is for you. Today's guest loves to help female entrepreneurs who are crafty. That is, if you are a woman with a Pinterest account and you have said more times than you can remember, I can do that, or if you actually do it, today's guest is going to help you understand how you can take that hobby of yours, that crafty hobby that the good Lord has put within you as a part of your passion, and to discover your purpose around that, and how you can take it right there from your own home. You can take that gift and use it to share what God's given you to do with the rest of the world, because we're all waiting for you to share those amazing products that you create and the other goods that you produce. So I'm excited to introduce you today to the woman that I want my honey to meet and get in touch with, because our home and the craft room is a living Pinterest account.
Awesome.
This is Jennifer Allwood. Faith Positive Nation, help me welcome Jennifer to Faith Positive Radio. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, Joey. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited to be with you and giggling at that introduction. And I'm so glad that you disclosed who Honey is.
Well, everywhere I go to speak, people hear about Honey. So
Honey.
I don't know how many tens of thousands of people are out there.
Wonderful.
Oh, Honey, where is she?
That's awesome. Yeah. So thank you for that intro. And, I actually, I am into all creative businesses. So, it's not just crafting, but my audience is really made up of creatives as a whole. So that means interior designers, decorators, writers, bloggers. I consider those all creatives. My background is actually, I owned a decorative painting company for 17 years. So we painted furniture, we painted cabinets, we painted walls. So I just love the creatives of the world. I think they're some of the most fascinating people on the planet. And so, the creatives, those are all my people, including the crafters.
Well, of course we're all your people because we're creative, right?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
The media really doesn't matter. It can be, I could be painting, well, for instance, an artist friend of mine created these paintings here. An artist friend of mine created the painting on the wall behind me. So those qualify, but words, like I've been known to write a few books. You've got a book deal now, and there are other many, many friends in Faith Positive Nation. So man, just let me stretch out my mind for just a second, and you tell me all the different types of creatives that you help discover their God-given purpose and passion.
Yeah, so everything from people who make jewelry to people who decorate cupcakes. I mean, that's really a creative ability, right? We have knitters, we have people that sew, we have people that do doodling, and I'm sure you've seen like those adult coloring books.
Yes.
That's all creative.
Yes.
We have people who do home staging for real estate agents in my group. So, all those things are using the creative abilities that God gives you. And I always think to myself, what a boring world it would be. Like, have you ever, first of all, Joey, imagine a world without color, first of all. Have you ever really thought about that? When I see a beautiful sunset, I had a mentor of mine tell me one time, she said, God could have made the entire world in black and white. And do you realize we would never have even known the difference? But it was like in his goodness that he gave us color. And then I think, what if we had a world without all the creative people, without the music and the authors and the makers, and just what a boring place it could be. And so
it'd be two-dimensional, wouldn't it?
Right? Yeah. And so I love our creative community. Absolutely.
Well, and God is so creative. The amazing thing for me about God is God spoke and
Yes.
created.
And there it was.
I have to work a little more
Yes.
than to speak. Like this is not my purpose in life is to paint something like this.
Right.
But I can work and rework words and they come out quite well.
Yeah, and so many people will tell me, "Oh, Jennifer, I don't have a creative bone in my body." I said, "Sure you do."
What do you say to
You
those
can go
people?
out to your shop and, make a table out of a couple scraps of woods. I mean, that's creating, and as children, we're all really creative. We just tend to lose that or kind of suppress that as we become adults so often.
Oh, wow. Can we camp out there for a second?
We sure
Because
can, yeah.
that's just a real passion of mine. I wrote a book called Listen to Life Like a Child. And in that book, the whole purpose of God giving me that book was to reestablish awe and wonder in the world.
Yeah.
So that we can come with that innate curiosity we're given as children. It starts early getting beat out of us. You're in the church choir even or the school choir and you're singing your heart out and they move you from the front row to the middle row to the back row. And finally they say, Joey, stop singing so loud.
Yeah. Is that what they told you, Joey? Here's what they told me. They said, Jennifer, we can't determine if you're a soprano or an alto. I kind of feel like you might not be a good fit for this. This is why I am not on the worship team right there.
No, there's somebody with a sense of tact.
Exactly.
They just told me, Joey, stop singing. I met someone, I was in Alabama for a few days recently, and I met an art teacher who had taught for several generations in the local school system. And she now sits on city council. And I said, how does a creative like you wind up on city council? And she said, well, there are all these students and they all loved my art classes. And I said, come on now, this is not the creative hub of Alabama by any stretch of the imagination. And she said, even if they couldn't draw or paint or whatever medium she was exposing them to, I helped them develop an appreciation for art. And that's what you're talking about. I may not be able to paint like this, but I can appreciate color that God put in the world. I can appreciate someone else's gift in this.
Yeah.
So how do we discover what we have that is creative to do? Because you just listed a whole bunch of different stuff, but the standard response is, I don't have a creative bone in my body. What do you say to people like that?
Well, and sometimes I think that God will kind of reveal to us talents accidentally, as adults.
Yeah.
And we stumble into things. I met a woman the other day, for instance, Joey, at a conference who I don't know what her career is, but she was somebody that kind of, painted a little. Nothing,
Okay.
She just painted on occasion. And somebody asked her to do paintings at a conference, like during worship. So someone called them, prophetic paintings. And she had done several of those now, had no idea that this was even something that she could do or was gifted in, but somebody just literally put an offer in front of her and she was brave enough to say, okay, I'll try. I don't know, but I'll try. And so I think sometimes that happens. It can even just be something like, as women, we love getting together and, eating, chatting, all the things ladies like to do. So like girls' night out type of parties, we used to do crafting parties with my girlfriends.
Really?
Girls' night out looks quite a bit different at, almost 50 than what it did.
Well, I've never been invited, so I have no idea. I know guys do.
Yeah, so we would get together and we would, make things. One day we just looked for some Pinterest projects and did something with old books and made them into wreaths for the front door. And so I know my mom has found a love of doodling and grown up coloring books. And my daughter right now, if I just give her a bunch of scraps of supplies and some glue and a staple gun, like that girl can go to town making something. So I think that everybody has things that they perhaps would either be good at or really enjoy. And by the way, if you enjoy it, it doesn't matter if you're good at it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I think exposing yourself to some different things, saying yes to some opportunities or, invitations that you would normally say no to. I love that they have so many like different painting places popping up around the city where you can, you do them even for kids' birthday parties. You can go now and do, kids painting and continuing to expose yourself to those types of things that are often things we did as children or were interested in as children. So great to do as an adult.
But there's a barrier there as we move from child to adult that gets erected, whether we're put on the back row of the choir or told, you'll never make a living at this, which actually is what our older daughter had a 12th grade teacher in high school tell her, you can't make a living doing that. But she still had won creative writing contest all over the country. And she went to college, one of the top 5 creative writing programs in the country, graduated, won their fiction award, and now makes a living doing what? Writing.
That's really interesting because, Joy, I got a scholarship to go to college, right out of high school because I had good grades. So I went the first year and my grades did not continue to be good enough. We were unable to renew that scholarship. But at 25, I decided I was going to go back to college, and I finished up all of my required courses. And I will never forget the day that I went in and sat in my advisor's office, and she said, Jennifer, you need to pick a direction right now. What are you thinking about for a degree? And I said, well, I'm thinking about 2 things. And she goes, okay, let's talk through them. And I said, one would be interior decorating. And I was the one who said, but I just don't know if I can make any money at this. I didn't know anybody did that. The internet was not what it is today. It wasn't like I could get on Facebook real quick and see if there was any interior designers. That wasn't a thing, Joey.
I understand. I remember when Al Gore created it. I really do.
Yes, it was PF, before Facebook, or BF. And so then I got your Al Gore joke. That's funny. I told her I was trying to decide between that because I loved making homes pretty. I bought my first house at 21, decorated it mostly from thrift store finds and repainting things and garage sale furniture. And so I loved houses. So my options were interior design or computers. And I told her, I hate computers, but I see how everybody's starting to use them. This was 20 years ago. And I feel like I could make a lot of money at that. And so she said, okay, so what do you want to do? And in my head, I'm like, oh man. Okay, let's go with the computers and make some money. So I was the one that made that own knuckleheaded decision for myself. But it's interesting how God can use every knuckleheaded decision we make and roll it into good somehow, because I have blogged now for the last 12 or 15 years. And I feel like I'm good at that sort of thing because I do have a little bit of a computer background. But gosh, I did myself such a disservice in that my house is featured all over Pinterest. It's all over my blog. We've done Extreme Home Makeover, that old ABC show with Ty Pennington. We did 3 episodes of that. I've had television out to, film things in my home. It's been in different magazines. Wow. What a difference. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to ever say, but had I went with my heart, had I went in the direction that I felt like God gave me a passion for into interior design, I just wonder how that would have helped me instead of the computer degree. So it's interesting that your daughter and I had something kind of similar like that.
Yeah, well, there are always, at least it seems to me, Jennifer, there are always people standing in line telling you what you ought to do.
Yeah.
And even some of them claiming to speak for God, right? So you were actually playing that movie in your head, which you were the star, and you were saying, who's going to make the most money? I mean, that's the movie. Well,
since I've had a mortgage since the time I was 21, in my head, I just was being very responsible. Right. And I talk a lot in my coaching groups about SRPs, super responsible people. I don't know if you are one of those, Joey, or not one of those, but when you're an SRP, super responsible person, you make decisions based on things like, okay, I have a mortgage. An interior design degree seems maybe a little, frivolous. A computer degree seems like the logical thing for a responsible person to do.
Mortgage payment.
Exactly. So that is why, I went in that direction. And again, God's made really good on that, and everything's turned out fine. But it's interesting if we can, I think so many people think that the things that they're passionate about, they're not sure how to monetize.
Right. That's the big catch up right there.
That advisor back when I was 25, 26 years old, she missed an opportunity to really kind of pour into me in that direction. But, she may not have known any better either. And I think about how we have lots of kids. We have 4 children, and I've got 2 teenage boys who love sneakers. Well, okay, so and when I say they love sneakers, Joe, I mean, one of them wants to do something with sneakers for a job someday. And so instead of telling him, well, son, that's ludicrous and you need to have, a normal, profession. Instead, my husband and I have worked really hard on helping them try to see an angle with which they could monetize the fact that they love sneakers. So right now, if I went up to my teenage boys' room, we probably have 100 to 200 pairs of brand new sneakers. They are sneaker flippers. So they buy them at different stores in town or from other sneaker flippers. And then they have their own little Instagram account called KCMO Kicks, which is, 600-700 people follow them.
Wow.
And they'll put up a picture of their sneakers. People will message them, ask for the price. And are they making, enough money to buy their own insurance for their car yet? Not quite, Joey, but it's at least showing them that things that they are passionate about, that there is an opportunity to monetize those, especially today with social media the way it is. So.
Oh, absolutely. So how do we move past that inner critic who plays this movie in our head saying, you can't do that, you better go with the super responsible people choice, right? How do we move past that inner critic voice of SRP to the point where we say, hey, it's okay to take a leap of faith and to seek to monetize? Maybe you can tell us what was the transition for you, and then you can tell us how we can do it, because you went from computer geek to interior design.
I did the computer stuff for about 2 years until I got laid off from my software development position. While I had been doing that,
can we just pause for a second and note the irony of that? You chose computer.
And God was like, all right, sweet pea, let me bring you back here.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. And I'm so grateful. I boohooed for a couple days, Joey. Over this job. But then, my husband had been helping me in the evenings and weekends do some painting in people's houses. Just, I was kind of playing with it. Yeah. And I remember when I lost my job thinking, okay, I wondered if I could make this painting gig into could I hustle enough that I could actually make it into a full-time job? I don't know, but that's back when the yellow pages were actually a thing. And we didn't have the Google. We had the yellow pages.
I remember.
Yes. So I went to the yellow pages and I literally ripped out every interior designer in the part of Kansas City that I lived in. And if they had a store, I showed up on their doorstep. If they had a home phone number, like, the old-fashioned phone with the cord and everything, I called them because I was desperate. And what I always tell people is, if you have a feeling of desperation plus an ounce of obedience, boy, God can work with that. And I was desperate not to have to go back to a desk job. And so thank God also, literally thank God, I have a very supportive husband. And so I started, getting some painting gigs. And before you know it, we're 17 years in, and we just shut that business down a couple of years ago, so I could focus solely on coaching other creatives. But right now, Joey, I coach over 3,000 women every month in paid groups on how to build their business. 3,000 of them. But here's what I tell them. So let's say you're passionate at something and you want to just determine, okay, is this anything that I could monetize? You have to look at 3 different things. Number 1, is it something that you love? Number 2, is it something you're really good at? Number 3, is it something that people actually pay you for? So I like to use the example of underwater basket weaving, which we know is not even a thing, but I don't know.
Did you say underwater basket weaving?
Underwater basket weaving.
I have a friend that lives in Florida that does that.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Okay. I was going to say, if you do, that would make for an amazing story. But let's pretend that you love underwater basket weaving. Nobody's going to pay you for that. And so that's not going to be a good business choice. So let's say that you love, or let's say you're really good at underwater basket weaving, but you hate it. And the truth was, I was good at software development, but I hated it. That's why it wasn't a good fit for me.
Wow.
And so just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should be doing it. And so, there's that. Also, it's the will people pay you for it? So even if underwater basket weaving was something that you loved and that you were super good at it, nobody's actually going to pay you for that. So it has to be where those three things meet. Are you super passionate about it? You'd do it even if you didn't get paid. Are you actually good at it? And will people pay you for it? And if you can figure out where those 3 things kind of
it's an alignment of those 3 things that fit together for your divine design taking on expression in the marketplace.
And that is so often, I think, where God has got my creative entrepreneurs. They're super passionate. I mean, they're the most passionate people in the world that I know.
Absolutely. Well, they're creatives, right?
Yeah, they have to be. They love what they do. They love getting their hands dirty. They love making. They love taking something that's not beautiful and making it into something gorgeous. And because they love it, most of them are really good at it. And lucky for us, with the world of HGTV and magazines and Pinterest,
DIY and everything.
Exactly. That is a really hot profession that people will pay people for right now. So there you go. Yeah.
So tell me about some of the unique creatives that you have among those 3,000 women.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I have 3,000 women and a handful of men. And it's not that I don't let men
Oh,
into our
you
little
do
group.
let men in?
We do. And I'm going to
So
tell you
I
about
could
one
join,
of them
huh?
who I can think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
His name is Damon Oates, and he makes wreaths like for your front door.
Okay.
Damon has a multi-7-figure-a-year business right now off of teaching people how to make wreaths and then how to list those for sale online and make money from them. So,
Holy cow.
sometimes here's what we do as creative people, Joey. We want to dumb it down. And
Mhm.
we are just a painter where we do a little crafting. Well,
Yeah.
I write a little. I'm an artist, but then I have a day job. And what I will
Mhm.
tell my creatives is this: if God had wanted to make you an astronaut, he certainly could have done that. If he had wanted you to be a dentist, an accountant, or anything else, he would have given you a gifting and a longing to do that. But instead, he made you a creative, which, by the way, is in his exact image.
Oh,
And for
definitely.
you to dumb that down and I'm just an artist. No, you are not just an artist. Honey, you
Mhm.
create, and people like you are making things that are beautiful for homes and for the world.
Mm.
And so I
Mm.
think about that. I think about one of the women in my group, April Kalanchik, who she's a cookie artist. And so
Oh,
she
wow.
used to make like 90 dozen cookies a week in terms of
What?
people coming to her house. So she'd decorate cookies for graduation, for birthday
Mhm.
parties, and they
Mm.
would come to her house and pick them up. She didn't want to have a brick and mortar because of family situations and things. Well,
Sure.
I have taught her how to take her love of cookie making, and she's a brilliant girl and has figured some of this out on her own, but I've had the honor of coaching her the last couple of years. She's now teaching other people how to build their cookie making business. She gives them instruction. She has a cookie making like design of the month group. So
Mm.
she has gone from making 90 dozen cookies a month
Mm.
to making just a couple, or a week, to making just a couple dozen a week, and then teaching other people how to make cookies. And so she's
Mm.
really pivoted into the role of, she's still in what she loves, which is cookie
Right.
making.
Right.
But now she's teaching the art of it and
Ah.
teaching other people how to have successful cookie making businesses. So right off the top of my head, those are just two random things I think of.
Mhm.
Who would ever think that you could be, making, more than what some people would ever make in a lifetime off of
Right.
other people how to decorate cookies. But because the internet is just like the wild, wild west, and there's, we can do things now in the online space, especially since we've got social media, that we couldn't do a decade ago. It's amazing. There's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur than there is today.
Oh, absolutely. And to be an entrepreneurial mom, right?
Yes. Raising
Because you
babies.
can
Yes.
raise those babies and bake cookies. Well, what I hear you saying with both Damon and April is that they were incredibly gifted and passionate about wreath making and cookie making,
Yes.
but you helped them systematize it so that they could then teach other people how to activate their love of wreaths and cookie making.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that I just showed them some different options that they could do
Mm-hmm.
so that they could, because here's what happens sometimes, Joey. So let's say I have a large percentage of people in my group who are furniture painters. So, you start out by grabbing a piece of furniture you see at the Goodwill, you paint it, you put it in your kitchen, people think it's beautiful. Well, then you think, well, gosh, that was fun. So you get a second piece of furniture, you paint it for your bedroom, and that's great. Well, then your sister says, hey, I have a piece of furniture. Would you paint it for me? And this, by the way, is the gateway drug. This is how God gets you often into your purpose. It starts out like that. People are thinking it needs to be this, hallelujah, or God singing through a bush.
The skyline or something opens up, right?
Not usually like that. So then your
No.
sister-in-law says, hey, would you paint a piece of furniture for me? And you do that for her. And then you think, well, goodness, I wonder if I could maybe flip a piece of furniture
Mm.
and put it on Facebook Marketplace. And so that's so often how it happens. But then what sometimes will happen is then you get 5 years into that, and you are painting furniture every day of the week. And it's become a thing where you're no longer super passionate about it, because
Right.
now you have to do it, and you become an assembly line, and it doesn't feel, I'm sure you can relate to
Oh,
this a
yeah.
little bit, writing books. All of a sudden it's a
Sure.
job.
Well,
And
coaching for us, you're trading time for money.
you are. And so
And you
there
lose
has
that
to come a
passion out of
time
it.
when you decide, I can no longer keep doing the trading time for money. So one of
Mm-hmm.
the things I teach entrepreneurs is how you can instead set up some things where you're no longer trading dollars for hours. So how
Mm-hmm.
can you do like sponsored content? I have companies like Hobby Lobby that pay me to go into their stores and, feature some of their products? How can you do things like affiliate links? I can tell people buy this thing from Hobby Lobby and I get paid a commission on that. How can you make like ad revenue off of your blog? Can you do one-on-one consulting online about the very, furniture painting that you're obsessed with? What about starting a furniture painting group, like a membership group? And I, by the way, have one of those. It's $47 a month. We've got almost 400 people in there every month that pay that to be in that group. That's one of 2 groups I have. And so there's so many other opportunities other than just still cranking out furniture like in
right. Well, and look at that multiplier effect also, because what you're doing is you're moving from baking, I think you said 90 dozen cookies a week for April, which I probably could eat all 90 dozen.
Absolutely. Never had a cookie I didn't like, Joey.
They all like me.
I get it.
As long as I get my steps in, I'm okay. But you can move from doing your own thing, in your little box, making your cookies, to really leveraging and releasing other people's creative, that multiplier effect.
Yes.
And there's an addicting drug right there, because now you're suddenly helping all these other people discover their passion and living into their purpose, so their divine design takes on expression. That's jazz.
It is. And I think that is having, a servant's heart, people, what sharing with the world what helping other, in my case, mostly women, be able to, put food on their families' tables. A lot of them just want to stay home and raise kids while they're making some money for the car payment. Am I also growing entrepreneurs who are, full-time at this and doing exceptional in terms of dollars every year? Absolutely. But I think it can be a wide range. For some people, starts out, I want to make the light bill, or so that my husband doesn't have to work a second job. And then I think for other people, they want to rule their industry, and that's fine too. And any place in there that you feel like God is positioning you, by the way, is 100% fine.
Yeah. And I love the way you're talking about teaching our kids that, because then they become, instead of dependent on a corporation who, like that one did you, will pull the chair out from under you right where you sit. 5 minutes to clean out your desk, and it doesn't matter how much you cry or how bad you feel, you're still on your way out the door with security escorting you out like you're a prisoner or something, right? So instead of being dependent on that corporate culture, I think it's the backbone of the great economy in which we all live today. You become a small business owner, and so you're able to give expression to that divine design God put in you in ways that you never imagined sitting behind a desk. And so we just release that energy.
Yeah, our boys also
more godlike.
For 100% for sure. We live in Kansas City, where some winters are interesting. This winter we had like 10 different snowfalls. Normally we don't get that much, but years ago we had a bad winter. And so our boys wanted to go out and make some money. We bought them a snowblower and said, okay, here's how you run it. Here's what you would charge, go to the glory of God, make some cash. Those boys,
go blow snow, boys.
But they hustled. I was never so proud of my boys as I was that winter. I'm guessing they were they're 17 and 15 now, and it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. We've had several light winters, and then this winter we had a lot of snow again, and they were out there again. And, one of our boys was thinking about going to a local fast food place and making $9.50 an hour. But we were trying to show him, honey, and that's fine. I am all about learning work ethic and showing up somewhere on time and having a boss and learning.
Somebody's got to flip burgers.
Somebody does. However, do you see that you just made $40 an hour shoveling a driveway versus the $9.50 an hour? I mean, there's such a difference, the setting your own hours, the determining when is enough for you, that, being able to decide, today I want to work a little on my own business. Today I don't want to work a little. And so we're really hoping that by exposing our boys to the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, and maybe they will, or maybe they won't, but at least we've exposed them to that, Joey. And so they've seen all sides of the coin.
Oh, absolutely. And Christian families have a unique opportunity, I think, to do that, because we as parents must be more in tune with our children, because we see them as God's gift to us, right? And boy, they pass through so quickly. So instead of whining and complaining about your kid won't get off the sofa playing video games, buy them a snowblower, right, Jennifer?
Yes. We're still complaining about the video games. God bless Fortnite. But, I think it's our responsibility to expose our children to other options. I hope they're catching the entrepreneur bug. I know for our family, just that it's changed everything. You know, where we live, my husband works with me full time. He was able to leave corporate America. We had 3 biological children and got a phone call last summer about a very distant family member who we'd never met, a little 4-year-old girl that we were asked to raise. And so we couldn't do that without the flexibility of our business, without the income of our business, because, you know, there's appointments and therapy and things that need to happen. And, you know, and so I think, here's what I think. I think there are so many entrepreneurs, okay, let me rephrase this. I think there's so many Christian people, let's also say just women in general, who feel so guilty about making money, Joey. But the truth is somebody's going to make it. And I feel like that the Christian people should be making more money than anybody else on the planet, and also giving more than anybody else on the planet, and leading teams better than anybody else on the planet. And so you just can't do that at a traditional job working for other people.
It's Colossians 3:23 all over again. Do everything you do as unto the Lord, right? And so who's going to dig the wells in third world countries that need safe drinking water? Who's going to send the antibiotics? Who's going to buy the bread or rice? You know, who's going to do all that? We are. And if we,
the widows, adopt the children, 100%.
Exactly. And if we were the stewards God intended us to be, then government assistance and all like that would be unnecessary.
For 100%. Yep.
Yeah, and we would be able to support each other. So if God's creative and he creates creative people, let's take a leap of faith and go be creative, which means that somebody listening to this podcast or watching this, Jennifer, wants to learn more from you. How can they do that?
Absolutely. So you can find me all over social media at just Jennifer Allwood. So if you go to Facebook, it's Jennifer Allwood. That's ALLWOOD, just like it sounds. It has a blue check behind my name. I have 355,000 followers on Facebook, so it's pretty easy to find. Or they can go to jenniferallwood.com, and I'd love to give them a free gift if they're there, if that's okay, Joey.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
I have a devotional for business owners, and it's something that God tricked me into writing a couple of years ago. You can buy it over on Amazon for $9.99, or you can just go to jenniferallwood.com/devotional and get that for free. And it's just a book of prayers for business owners. And the reason I wrote that is because I was looking for prayers for business owners. And when I didn't find one, I felt like God said, well, sweetie, how about you write that? And I was like, no, I don't know. I've never written anything other than my blog post, Lord. And so, that was a test in obedience. And so I would love to give that to your audience.
So you have to face down your own voice of inner critic as well, right?
Yeah, God's really funny that way. He has me walking through in real time the very things that I'm coaching other people on. And, I think it keeps me humble.
For sure.
Relevant.
And it's all for God's glory anyway, right?
Absolutely, 100% is. And if I only said yes to the things that I was comfortable with doing, I mean, it's in his goodness that he stretches us. He
does, and allows us to participate in redeeming the world. So we're co-creators, co-laborers with God. Absolutely. And my litmus test, Jennifer, quickly is, if I think I can do it, an idea. If I think I can do it, that means it's my voice.
Yes.
If I go, oh, you've got to be kidding, that's God's voice. And he's calling me to that bigger vision and says, hey, Joey, you need Jennifer and you need other people on a team to work with me to get this done.
Well, you and I were kind of talking about this before we came on here to record. I'm actually hosting a conference in Kansas City, May 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
People could go to jenniferallwood.com/conference. It's called the Equipped Conference. And it's so funny how this conference came about, Joe. It's exactly what you just said. I had been to many, many conferences in the last couple of years that were very strategic in business. And so I've built a very, thriving business in terms of social media and income, and, enjoy conferences because I get new email strategy, new Facebook strategy.
You learn something.
But I've been to so many conferences where I've thought, and I've been reading the room thinking, okay, this is lovely. However, there's so many women in this room that they don't really feel worthy of making money. So they just learn new strategy, but it ain't going to matter at all when they get home. They still feel very vulnerable to post anything on social media because they're wondering about what their sister-in-law is going to think. So it doesn't matter that they just learned about Facebook ads. They haven't even started the page yet. And so, I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, it's great that people are getting business strategy, but if at their core, they're still struggling with the things God's asking them to do, that's what we have to address first. So I literally literally was out on a wog, Joey, and a wog is a walk jog for us middle-aged people. It's a walk jog. So, I was out on a wog last summer thinking, I'd just gotten back from a conference thinking, man, I wish there was a conference for women where we mixed faith and business. And gosh, I'd go to that. I'd love that. And I heard the Holy Spirit just dropped it in my mind. Well, girlfriend, how about you start one? Instantly I said, not going to happen. I don't like public speaking. We're writing a book this summer. We've got enough to do. This is so much work.
That's right.
They're hard. And
I'm with you. You pulled that whole Moses routine. That ain't gonna work.
Well, and God and I we've arm wrestled so many times in the last few years because I have never enjoyed public speaking on a stage. Now, if you put me on television, on a radio show, on a podcast, I'm great. But put me in front of a crowd of people and I tend to just, I'm a ball of nerves. Nobody can tell but me, but I can literally make myself physically sick from anxiety over speaking on stage. And so even back in college, Joey, when I went for that 1 year, I took college speech my first semester of my first year of college so that I would never, ever, ever, ever have to speak in public again. And so God reminds me of that often. I've had to repent for making that word vow because here I am, I speak for a living. And so, but I was reminding God, I don't want to be on stage in front of people, but so many people think their business is just all about them. And Joey, my business has nothing to do with me. I have children watching what I'm doing. I have a host of women, 3,000 entrepreneurs that are needing to see that the very thing I'm telling them to do, to be obedient to what God's calling you to do, to start the business that you're feeling inspired to start. I need to be walking that out in real time ahead of them. So needless to say, God and I argued about this for a good couple of months until I finally just cried mercy. It's like in those WWE fights when people tap out. I'm like, fine. God, we'll have a conference. So we have got a conference coming. It's going to be amazing. I'm doing that completely out of obedience because there is a real need for it in the marketplace. And I would love if any of your listeners could make a trip to Kansas City on May 2nd and 3rd. You can go to jenniferallwood.com/conference. And
it's the Equipped Conference.
The Equipped Conference, yes.
Awesome. Jennifer, Faith Positive Nation always wants to hear from our guest about a favorite Bible verse that really drives your engine or one that you cling to. Right? And the going gets tough and you're making excuses for God and his buddy slammed you for the third time. Yes, you will do a conference. What's your go-to verse?
Well, and I don't even have in front of me, Joey, where the reference is, but it's to whom much is given, much will be required. And I go back to that one all the time. And when I look around, and it doesn't matter if we're here where I am today or if we were in our starter home 25 years ago, it doesn't have anything to do with that. But when I just look at all I've been given, I mean, how am I supposed to say no when I'm arm wrestling with God, And so I said to my team the other day, I really just want a reputation in heaven for being a yes girl, for just saying yes to the things that God puts in front of me, regardless of my feelings. Yes. And this is also the premise of my book that you and I were talking about that'll be out in 2020. And so I go back to that scripture a lot. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. To whom much is given, much will be required.
Yeah. And if you'll just know that the victory is already won and greater is he who's in you than he who's in the world.
Love that one too. Absolutely.
Let's go. Let's go give it back. Right. Jennifer, this has been amazing. JenniferAllwood.com is the website where you can go and learn more. If you're on a treadmill walking your dog, or if you're one of those lucky people who has a cat that likes to be walked, you can go to Jennifer's page on our website at getpositive.today and discover the URL right there. Jennifer, would you come back and you said the book's coming out next year?
Yes, it will be out in 2020. We are signing things this
wonderful.
So
bless that. Would you do us the gift of coming back when the book comes out so we can learn more from you?
I would absolutely love to. Thank you so much for having me.
That would be wonderful.
It's been fantastic. I love chatting with like-minded business owners. So thank you so much, Joey.
Oh, Jennifer, the pleasure is all ours, and Faith Positive Nation is better for this conversation with you today. So I pray God's blessings on you, that amazing husband of yours, those 3 great kids, the sneaker flippers, the boys, and a special prayer for that blessing, that 4-year-old little girl.
Thank you.
We just pray God's blessings on all of you. All right, Jennifer, God bless.
God bless you too. Thanks, Joey.
Thanks for listening to Faith Positive Radio, the Christian business coaching conversation that increases your faith with greater joy at work so you love God and others more. Suggest guests and ask questions when you email Dr. Joey at info@getpositive.today. And be sure to get your free gift of the 5 positive business conversations to have today coaching program at getpositive.today. Until next time, may God bless you with everything your heart can hope for and more than your mind can imagine.